Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. So I want to say a really big thank you to all of you for your lovely support and positive feedback that I had on my last episode. It really means a lot to me. I don't know if it was the movie House of a Thousand Corpses or the style of episode of first time watching that you guys liked so much, but I had so much fun doing that episode, so I will definitely be doing more of the first time watch episodes in the future. But your lovely comments also inspired today's episode. So many of you responded by saying that The Devil's Rejects was your favourite in the Firefly Trilogy, and seeing as how I was already curious to watch the two sequels and hearing you guys rave about the second one, I thought I would watch the entire trilogy and then review them for you guys and also give you my personal ranking of worst to best of the movies. If you haven't seen it already, I have actually already done an episode on the House of a Thousand Corpses where I watched it for the first time and then I spoke to you guys about my thoughts and opinions on it, so I will leave a link for that somewhere here either side, so if you haven't seen it already you can go check that out. If you did watch that episode, then you will know that I am not really well versed in Rob Zombie movies. I knew him more for his music than his films, and the only other films that I have seen that he has done are the Halloween remake he did, and then about 10 minutes of its sequel Halloween 2, when back in the day before I was completely desensitized, there was one of the kills that was just a little bit too brutal that it made me feel ill and I had to turn it off. So the Firefly Trilogy is really my first deep journey into his movies, and I think that The House of a Thousand Corpses was certainly an interesting easing into the trilogy. Just a little heads up, if you haven't seen the movies already, this episode is going to be full of spoilers. I am going to be talking about lots of story elements and character elements through the three movies, so consider this your spoiler warning. Okay, so let's start off with House of a Thousand Corpses, which was released back in 2003. It was actually filmed in 2000, but the movie was delayed because of Universal dropping out of distribution of the film because they were concerned that it was maybe a little bit too brutal. But you have to bear in mind that this was released before Saw and Hostel and the start of that whole torture porn era of horror, and it was the same year as the brutal Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. So the horror genre was still really saturated with the scream imitation teen slasher movies. So on its release, House of a Thousand Corpses was probably quite shocking. Two young couples travelling across the backwoods of Texas searching for urban legends of murder end up as prisoners of a bizarre and sadistic backwater family of serial killers. So the movie follows four 20-somethings who are driving across country because they're trying to write a book on roadside attractions. You have Bill, played by Rainn Wilson, Jerry, played by Chris Hardwick, and their two girlfriends who are along for the ride. They stop at a gas station where they come across Captain Spaulding and his Museum of Monsters and Madmen. And this is where they learn of the local legend of Dr. Satan. Dr. Satan! And they decide... Sorry. Dr. Satan! Ah, Dr. Satan! And they decide to go and check it out. This is the catalyst for our leads to cross paths with the movie's villains, the Firefly family. You have Mother Firefly, her daughter Baby, her sons Rufus and Tiny, her adoptive son Otis, and it's rounded off by Grandpa. And the Fireflies live in a run-down, rotting farmhouse that has some strange and disturbing decor. Now, if this story sounds familiar to you, maybe ringing bells with another classic horror movie, that is because House of a Thousand Corpses treads a very fine line between ripping off and paying homage to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. There are quite a few similarities to a point between the two movies in plot, characters, and setting. As with quite a large number of horror movies, the film's villains are actually far more interesting than the protagonists. The four 20-somethings, in my opinion, are insufferable. The two girlfriends, it feels like they are only there to pout, roll their eyes, and complain about everything. And Jerry is just, he's loud, he's hyperactive, and he's really annoying. The only one that I think is bearable is Bill, played by Rainn Wilson. And to be honest with you, his best scenes are not the ones where he's with his friends, but the ones where he's interacting with the Fireflies, whether that's Baby or Captain Spaulding. As I said, the Fireflies are really interesting and multifaceted characters, but in my opinion, the two strongest are Captain Spaulding and Otis. And it's a real shame because in this first movie, we don't really get a lot of these characters, but we do get more of them in the next installment. House of a Thousand Corpses has a really simple storyline, nothing extravagant, but even then I feel as though the narrative suffered the further into the runtime that we got, and it gets to the point where it feels like there is no narrative or story development. It is just a bunch of random events to show us how disturbing the Firefly family is. And there are things that are happening that either don't make sense or are never really explained to us. Like, why is Dr. Satan there underground near the Firefly house? And why is Mother Firefly's husband mutilated and working for Dr. Satan? And to say that Dr. Satan is the catalyst to put our leads in this situation, he's never seen nor mentioned in either of the two sequels. This is Rob Zombie's first movie, and you can kind of tell there are lots of aspects about this film that feel really experimental and almost feel more like a music video or a horror experience rather than an actual movie itself. And A Thousand Corpses is an absolute assault on the senses, whether it's visual or audibly. There is constant noise, flashing lights, spinning cameras, and these random intercut intermission scenes. But the production design of this movie is awesome. The decor of the Firefly's house and Captain Spaulding's museum is great. There is just classic horror memorabilia all over this movie, and I love it. So while House of a Thousand Corpses introduced us to the Firefly family, its sequel, The Devil's Reject, is the continuation of their story and of the trilogy, and from what I understand is considered to be the best of the trilogy and is often people's favourite. In The Devil's Rejects, the Firefly family now take centre stage and become the focus of the film. They are now no longer just the villains. After a raid on the rural home of the murderous Firefly family, two members of the clan, Otis and Baby, manage to flee the scene. Heading to a remote desert motel, the killers reunite with Baby's father, Captain Spaulding, who is equally dangerous and intent on maintaining their murder spree. The first point to make about The Devil's Reject is just how different in tone and style this is to House of a Thousand Corpses. Gone are the odd intermissions and the erratic camera movements. This movie has a much more linear and cohesive narrative and a clear beginning, middle and end. The storyline never suffers through the movie, but if I had to be nitpicky, I would say that a couple of the scenes go on for longer than they need to, but that is it. It follows Otis and Baby as they flee the scene from the raid on their home, and they call up Captain Spaulding to warn him, who is revealed in this film to be Baby's dad. They arrange to meet at a motel, but when that doesn't work out, they then head on to an old friend of Captain Spaulding's where they hide out. As well as the Fireflies being linked to the first movie, the plot is as well. This is set 7 months after the events of House of a Thousand Corpses. The police are now aware of their crimes and decide to raid and attack the farmhouse, wanting to arrest the family. The sheriff in this film is also the brother of one of the cops that was killed by the Fireflies in House of a Thousand Corpses, and he is now hell-bent on revenge. My favourite aspect about Devil's Rejects is how we now get much more screen time with both Captain Spaulding and Otis. Although Captain Spaulding is a lot less comedic in this movie, and as more of his character is revealed, his relationship to the Fireflies and his involvement in their crimes, it becomes clear that he is just as dangerous as they are. And while Otis's character is absolutely horrific, Bill Moseley really sells it. And that's the thing with Rob Zombie, is he always gets a really good cast. The odd thing about The Devil's Rejects, though, is how Rob Zombie is blatantly trying to get the audience to like and root for the Firefly family. There are lots of moments where we see loyalty, care and love for one another between the trio, and Zombie seems to be really trying to show a human side to them. But how can we like and sympathise with these characters? They're evil and sadistic and they do evil things. At one point in the movie we have the motel scene, which I'll talk more about in a second. But then moments later, we're in a van with them on a road trip, listening to them arguing about stopping off for ice cream and talking about Tutti Frutti.
Tutti fucking fruity! Shut up!
But the annoying thing is, I do like that van scene. How can you not enjoy watching Baby and Spaulding nagging Otis for ice cream and then shoving the cone on his nose when he gets all grouchy? And I will say that in this movie, I found Rob Zombie's language and swearing absolutely hilarious. I mean, you've got characters going, F you, no, F you, F me, F you. And it's just constant and so over the top that it's absolutely hilarious. Okay, going back to that motel scene that I mentioned earlier, I did not like this one, and I know that we're not supposed to like it, but still, it is disturbing and horrific. Baby and Otis attack two couples at the motel and are holding them up in one of the rooms where they cruelly tease and torture them. There's also some SA, and one of the men has his face skinned off, which is then given to his wife to wear as a mask. Call me a prude or whatever, but that scene is not for me. And this is the scene that we jump from to them arguing in the van about Tutti Frutti ice cream, which I enjoyed. I also struggled to believe the sheriff's subplot of revenge, where he very quickly and very intensely goes off the rails. And one minute he's a man of the law following the rules, the next he's hallucinating his dead brother in the Firefly farmhouse, and he's killing his prisoner, and he's kidnapping the Firefly trio. It just felt a little far-fetched. I think he was supposed to show us, the audience, some parallels being drawn between him and the Fireflies and what they had done to their victims and how the hunters have now become the hunted. But it just didn't work for me. But The Devil's Rejects has this really lovely, warm, gritty look to it and an absolutely stellar soundtrack. And that ending is just incredible. 3 from Hell was released in 2019, a whole 14 years after the release of The Devil's Rejects, and is the completion of the Firefly Trilogy. It's set 10 years after the events of the ending of The Devil's Rejects, where it was implied at the time that the trio had died, but now in 3 from Hell we are led to believe that they survived the shootout. Crazed killers Baby Firefly, Otis Driftwood and Foxy Coltrane unleash mayhem against unsuspecting victims after a prison breakout and a road trip to Mexico. I have to say that I really loved the opening scene of 3 from Hell. I mean, it's all just exposition, explaining to the audience what has happened since the end of Devil's Rejects up to now, but it's done in the style of a true crime documentary. And being interested in true crime myself and having seen a number of these types of documentaries, I have to say they absolutely nailed it. Just capturing our fascination with criminals and relishing in the dramatisation of it. There are clips in this documentary where they have interviewed people of the public, and you have some people saying, I don't believe they did it. They just don't look like they could have, which is a phrase that was said a lot about Bundy. You also have a woman who says that she thinks that Otis is sexy and that, yeah, he's a bad man, but I'd date him. Again, this is something that was said about both Bundy and Ramirez. The characters in 3 from Hell feel a little bit different to me now. Maybe not Captain Spaulding, but I mean, they kill him off very quickly after his one brief scene in it. But Otis now just feels really tired by everything, and Baby is clearly affected by her time in prison. And I have to say that I think that this is Sheri Moon Zombie's best portrayal of Baby in the trilogy. After the remaining Fireflies escape from prison, they go on the run to Mexico with their half-brother Foxy in tow. And I really appreciated the change in setting. I think that it just made things feel a little bit fresher, and I really liked the rundown Day of the Dead aesthetic to it. 3 from Hell is definitely the most blatant attempt in the trilogy to make us like and sympathise with the Firefly family. We see the toll that being in prison has taken on Baby's mental health, and there's this really sweet scene between Baby and Otis when they're in Mexico where they're talking together and lamenting the loss of their family members and contemplating what the future holds for them now. I mean, they're talking about things that I'm sure a lot of us have wondered about at some point in our lives, our place in the world and what what the future holds for us now that we're getting older. But again, these are evil, sadistic people who are worried that they are now too old and too few to go on murderous sprees. Like The Devil's Reject being linked to House of a Thousand Corpses, Three from Hell is linked to The Devil's Reject, as we now have the adult son of Danny Trejo's character. Otis killed Danny Trejo's character in the opening of Three from Hell during his escape from prison, and now we have the son hell-bent on revenge, just like the sheriff was in The Devil's Rejects. This leads to our trio being ambushed in the small Mexican town that they're holding up in, and especially in the third act, we get lots of action scenes where there's lots of slow-mo shots, so many slow-mo shots, and moments where the Fireflies look badass, because let's be honest, if Rob Zombie has taught us anything in this trilogy and rammed it down our throats, is that the Fireflies are badasses. And their journey is full circle now. They have gone from being the villains of the movie to the villainous protagonists to apparently the heroes of the story. For me, I feel as though Three from Hell's plot is a little disjointed and kind of threadbare at times, and occasionally it feels like it's just retreading parts of the stories from the previous two movies. And it also has a lot of the brutality, but not as much of the charm of Devil's Rejects. But you know, all that being said, I did like this movie, and I think that there is still a lot of entertainment to be found in it, and like The Devil's Rejects, it has another stellar soundtrack and incredible cast. So now that I have seen all of the Firefly trilogy, where would these movies come in a ranking? Now bear in mind, this is my own personal ranking, so it's not necessarily going to match with yours. And also I've decided to rank these films based on how much fun I had watching them. So coming in at third place, it's going to be House of a Thousand Corpses. In second place, it's going to be Three from Hell. And in first place, it's The Devil's Rejects. Well, you guys absolutely nailed it. The Devil's Rejects is the best in this trilogy, and I'm so glad that I decided to watch the two sequels, because I had infinitely more fun with these than I did with House of a Thousand Corpses. In my last episode, I said that I didn't think that Rob Zombie's style was for me personally, but after having watched the rest of the trilogy, I can really appreciate how hands-on Rob Zombie is as a director. He's one of those creators that has a very distinct style and vision, and he really gets involved with all different aspects of the movie making process to help achieve this. And while there are very few horror moments in this horror trilogy, these are still very disturbing and horrific movies. But for me, the most interesting thing about the Firefly trilogy is how there is no comeuppance for the Firefly family and the crimes that they commit. Yeah, sure, a few of them die and a couple of them spend a little bit of time in prison, but ultimately they get to drive off into the sunset looking like badasses. But ultimately, this trilogy and its bizarre idolization of the Firefly family is a beautiful love letter to our own bizarre fascination with and obsession with serial killers. I know I talked to some of you about this trilogy in the comments in my last episode, but let me know any thoughts you have on this trilogy down in the comments. Also, let me know any movie facts you know about them, because I love to read those. But in the meantime, thank you as always for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye guys.